Please join me in welcoming Mr. Bob McKinnon back to Penn State.
Thank you, Dr. Jones, and welcome to the class of 2021. For those of you who are expecting Kate McKinnon from Saturday Night Live, or really anyone you've ever heard of, my apologies. It was an honor to be asked to give a commencement address by your alma mater, so when Dean Harton asked me, I was sent scurrying to prepare in some very predictable ways. I Googled best commencement speeches ever, watched about 10 of them, got really depressed. Thank you a lot, Oprah. I texted 30 of my friends, and I asked them, who was your commencement speaker, and what was their really important message they shared? And none of them could remember who spoke or any word that was said. This made me feel quite a bit better. I did some research on the university, thinking I would share with you some mind-blowing facts. For example, did you know that the stadium is named after James Beaver? He was a former general in the US Army during the Civil War. He was actually taken to the battlefield in an ambulance, only to lose his leg as soon as he took command. I wrote a couple of opening jokes to try to keep it light. I thought about a very questionable story about my times here tossing a Huffy off my balcony at University Terrace. Decided not to go into details on that. I developed a theme, I pulled it together, wrote a couple drafts, revisions, polished it up, and overall felt that I would give you quite the commencement address. And then I did what I should have done in the beginning. I talked to a couple of students, I read your words online on Onward State and the Daily Collegian, and I decided to start over. I don't think I fully appreciated until then how much you've lost this past year. Under normal circumstances, we come to college, we meet new people, we go to class in person, we show up at the hub in groups of people to work on projects or student organizations. We cheer at football games. We go to Bryce Jordan to celebrate the love that is Thon. We hug our friends when we spot them on a crowded campus. We have parties with more than 10 people. We go out at night, not needing a line pass. And we drop by our friends' apartments just because. College is meant to be a time of socializing without the distancing. It's a time to take our masks off, not to put them up. It's a time for inclusion, not isolation. For you, this was meant to be a time of we in the largest sense, and yet in too many ways, it was diminished or denied. And for that, I am really, really sorry, because I know personally how important every one of those things matters to you. Yet on another level, you've expanded this idea of we, and for that, I am very grateful. In your sacrifice and restraint, you have demonstrated care and consideration for one another. You have, in fact, by your actions, made it easier for those behind you to come to school in the fall. And if there are any incoming freshmen who are listening today, they owe you all a debt of gratitude. With this sacrifice, you join a time-honored tradition at Penn State. We sit here gathered today in a mostly empty stadium where under normal circumstances, there would be 100,000 people, half of which would be cheering, "We are." Or maybe 2 or 3 of you. Many of you may know that the origin of We Are dates back to 1946. At that time, the football team was scheduled to have their last game in Miami, then a segregated city. They were told that their 2 black players could not come to play. So the team gathered, and they held a vote, and from that vote, they decided they would either all go or none would go. As one of the black players, Wally Triplett, said, "That's when we are all together, we are all one," became the creed they lived by. We could, in fact, fill this stadium with people who have similarly sacrificed or given their time and effort for us to gather here today. For those who have blazed the trail for others, like Rebecca Ewing and Calvin Waller, our first woman and person of color to graduate from the university, to those who made access to this education possible, like Bunny Sandler, who is not the mother of Adam Sandler, but the mother of Title IX, which afforded equal opportunity for women in education, and Claiborne Pell, father of the Pell Grant, which allowed me to attend Penn State, and perhaps many of you as well, to Justin Smith Morrell and Abraham Lincoln, who authored the Land-Grant College Act, which allowed people, again, like me, who were common people, working people, to become the first in their family to graduate from college. But we need not look back at history to find sacrifice. Just look beside you. For all of my friends who could not remember who their commencement speaker was or what was said that day, they did recall the look on their parents' face or a moment shared with a loved one. Take a moment now, look at who's beside you, and see the mutual pride in each other's faces. Of course, if they're shivering, you may have had a different experience. For those of you who may have lost a parent or a loved one, I know you may have just felt a pang of sadness. I know I just did. 3 people who were guests at my own graduation are no longer with us. And in fact, my father, who left us when we were young, died on the very day I graduated from Penn State. Still, I would like to think that all of our loved ones, whether physically here or not, are with us today. Like you, they have done the hard things to make life a little easier for others. Why is this important? Research will tell you that the more we remember those that have helped us along the way, the more grateful and appreciative we are. Happiness follows gratitude, not the other way around. Importantly, this also motivates us to be more supportive with one another. We are is not just a chant at a stadium, it is a promise to be there for one another. You may have some anxiety about the job market and the world you're about to enter, but did you know that 80% of all jobs are filled through your connections and your networking? Now, to make you feel pretty good about that, we could fill this whole stadium 7 times over with alumni who are ready, willing, and able to help you find a job, start a business, and pursue your passions. Case in point, when I graduated, I had a tough time finding a job. It could have been because at that time I was sporting a pretty significant mullet. But fortunately, I got a connection through an alumni named Lynn Salzberg, who hooked me up with an interview and got me a job that I held for the next 15 years. My connection to this university has never let me down. They've helped me with my research, promoted my work, thanks Mike Poorman, Steve Samsel, and Dean Harden. They have participated in projects that I have done, like the Paternos, who contributed a chapter to my book, or who I featured in a work on philanthropy. Even these remarks were aided by Jackie Esposito, a librarian archivist who is a treasure to our institution. And of course, there are many friends from Penn State who over these last 30 years have been there for me, offering sound advice and of course, a good laugh. In short, I would not be where or who I am today without Penn State, and I trust you wouldn't be either. This past year has reminded us how truly connected we are. Our health, our economy, our livelihoods, all interconnected by a sneeze, a touch, a click. Coincidentally, as graduates from the 3 colleges represented here today, you have all chosen careers that operate in the world of we. There are no teachers without students. There are no communications without audiences. There is no technology without users. Each of your respective fields has been stretched to the limits this last year, questioned, challenged, criticized. You will have jobs, and yes, you will find jobs, that can reinforce divisions or heal them. They can diminish inequalities or increase them. They can move us forward or they can hold us back. All of it depends on how you choose to define we. We is designed to be inclusive, although as we've seen, it is often not. We use we to create cliques and clubs, political parties, and groups that divide us. And we see where this has gotten us. Fortunately, I believe that given all you've experienced this year, you may have a deeper, truer appreciation of the phrase we are than any previous graduating class. I expect you to embrace this phrase in the largest sense. We are not just Penn State. We are one country. We are one world. We are one planet. I hope you look charitably upon one another. Always assume the best of intentions, even with those you vehemently disagree with. That you avoid the filter bubbles of media and the trappings of self-interest. And finally, that you choose to measure your own success by the success you help create for others. Like the field outstretched before you, you have your entire adult life ahead of you. Remember that no one ever truly scores alone, and that we are is not just a chant you say in the stadium, but the words to live by once you walk out of it. Congratulations to the class of 2021. Now I'd like to end my remarks in the most predictable and appropriate way possible. We are. We are. We are. Thank you.